is having you develop a shared vision. For those who attended the first meeting, you'll know that we're really interested in getting you all to work together. You get to meet a few new people, and we're developing a shared vision for our community. So we want to make sure that if you're at a table with 2 or 3 folks, please hop into one of the tables so you can have a better dialogue as you get going. So we're going to get going in just a couple minutes. So if you want to grab your last second coffee warm up, this is a great time. And then we'll get going in just a second. Thanks so much. So good morning. How are we doing today? We're doing well. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming to our second of 3 planned meetings for the Mountain House Town Center Community Center. Wow, I'll try that again. Mountain House Town Center Community Workshop. This is a visioning process. This is a creative process. And our objective is to tap into your collective wisdom, to make sure that this is a shared vision, that your opinions matter as we continue to develop the vision for how Mountain House is going to develop over the next decades. So my name is Rob Ray, and I'm going to be serving as your facilitator along with my colleague Sue Dyer, who's over there. And Sue has owned a business called Orgmetrics. We're based in Livermore, and we're going to be serving as your facilitators, almost like your MCs through this process. Now, can I see a show of hands? How many of you were able to make the first workshop in October? Oh, wow. Okay, great. So, that's wonderful. The good news for you is you'll be a little familiar with some of the processes that we're doing today, because we're going to, again, tap into your wisdom. For those who weren't there, don't worry, I'm going to give you a little overview on what we did, and we're going to be focusing our vision on what we talked about at the last meeting. So we'll make sure to go over that and talk to you about how that's being included in the new plans and the new vision for the community center. Sound good?
Awesome.
All right. So, as I said, this is the second of 3 meetings. The first meeting was in October. This one's today. The next one's probably going to be in early 2014, I think in January, February. Okay? Now, what we're going to talk about, how this process is going to work. Today's format, it's a little longer than the last meeting. Last time we did 2 separate meetings. Today we're actually doing a longer form. And so we need you to stay on until 2 o'clock. The reason is we're going to have 3 parts. In the first part, my colleague Belinda is going to be walking you through the shared vision, some of the golden threads, some of the ideas that we heard over and over and over again in the first meetings. Okay? The second part, Jeff is going to walk you through some concepts of how we can build out the town center. Okay? And in the last part, we're going to get your opinions so you can rank and prioritize those concepts and then give us your feedback on it, because we want to hear what your opinion is. So it's really important that we can get you to stay on through. And guess what? We're even feeding you lunch. So you don't have to starve. So without much further ado, I'd like to introduce Ron Morgan, who's going to be introducing some of the folks that are with us today.
Thank you, Rob. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today as we continue on this process of determining your vision for Mountain House. As Rob said, I'd like to introduce some of our elected officials and dignitaries that we have with us today. And thank you, Supervisor Elliott, our county supervisor from San Joaquin County has joined us. Important to the supervisor, and we appreciate his participation. We also have some members of our CSD with us today. Steve Gutierrez, I think I saw Steve come in. Celeste Barron. Jim Lamb, I think is with us. Andy Sue, also on the board. I haven't seen Andy. No. All right. We also have Jan McClintock, or Bernice. Bernice. I apologize, Bernice. I can see you. Our CSD General Manager, Jan McClintock's with us today. Father, Sharegi from the CSD staff. And members of our school board. I saw Dave Pombo. I don't think I saw any other members of the school board with us today. but really appreciate your coming out and supporting the community and helping us through this process. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Ron. Okay, so now I'm going to walk you through a couple of our objectives of the workshop, our concept and theme, and then our ground rules. Okay? So, as I said, the objectives for the workshop today, really what we're hoping to do is share with you a few concepts for how the town center can get built out. And we want to hear from you about what your thoughts are, and have you reflect on the concepts, prioritize those in here. Now, this is a great quote. Nobody is smarter than all of us. Dan Millman. Does anyone know who Dan Millman was? Dan Millman was a national champion gymnast. He was a gymnast at Cal Berkeley. He wrote a book called The Peaceful Warrior. And what he talked about was collective wisdom. There is a shared collective wisdom that comes from a group. And from that collective wisdom arises great outcomes. And so that is our goal. That is our process that we're using with this visioning process. We want to make sure that your vision, your thoughts are included. So you'll have opportunities to do that with your groups. And we also have these little note cards. So if you have any questions that arise throughout the day, any thoughts that come up that aren't answered, make sure to jot down a note. We're going to be collecting those questions as well, in case you have some of those questions. In terms of ground rules, we're all going to behave, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
A rowdy crew here. Few ground rules. This is an opportunity to share openly. Judgments are not allowed. Again, this is a creative process. In the first meeting, we had you fill out a postcard, and it was totally creative. What would your day be like? Okay? Now, today, we're forcing you to do a creative thing again. We're going to be showing you some two-dimensional plans and concepts, and then think about an experience, what it would be like. So switching from 2D to 3D. And my dad's a physicist and is a pretty linear guy, and he would ask me if I'm crazy for wanting to go from 2D to 3D. But bear with us. We've got some great drawings and some great concepts. And I'm sure there are some folks within your group who can help you read the plans that Jeff's going to be walking you through in a little bit. So, as I said, opportunity to share openly. Judgments are not allowed. We need your best dumb ideas and questions. When sharing, please allow them to speak one at a time. There are going to be opportunities for you to speak out a little bit. So please respect the person. So when you get an opportunity, you can appreciate the silence like you all are giving me the respect of silence right now. Really appreciate that. And the last thing, let's have some fun today, okay? Sound like a plan? All right. So I mentioned a few common themes. In industry parlance, we talk about that as golden threads. What are the common thoughts that came up over and over and over again as we talked about our vision for what the town center would be like? And Belinda is going to talk to you about the common themes that came up in our last meeting. So I'd like to introduce Belinda Sorbo.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see some familiar faces, and what I'm about to present hopefully will resonate with you. This is the result of all of the beautiful postcards that we read, every single one. Some of them were absolutely poetic and just very heartfelt, and it really spoke a lot to us about how much you love Mountain House and what you'd like to see. Those that were here may recall that we asked you to write, what would you like to hear, what would you like to see, what would you like to smell, what would you like to do in the town center, in your town center, and what that experience is like. So we've captured all of that, and I'm going to present and just kind of speak back to you about what you told us, and then what we tried to do was incorporate that, your vision, into some of the planning concepts that Jeff will be presenting to you in just a moment. So I'm going to go back through, and this will hopefully resonate with you all. We had you write out what is the identity of Mountain House, what is the town center description and experience, and then specifically what are the types of retail and restaurants that you'd like to see. So just starting with the identity of Mountain House, one of the first things and probably the biggest thing in terms of importance that came up from your postcards and from your group sessions was that you believe Mountain House, one of the things that defines it is that it's family oriented. All types of families, all ages of families, multi-generational community. Secondly, that it's multicultural, that it's diverse. There's a lot of ethnicities here, and it's something that you really like, a lot of culture, and that comes alive here in the community. Third is quality education. Many of you mentioned that you're here because of the schools, you like the neighborhood schools, and the quality of the schools here and schools of excellence, and that's important to you and your family. Next is green and healthy. I was actually interested in how many of you said that this is a place that has clean air. And you really focused on that a lot. And I know coming from the Bay Area, maybe urban areas, that the air isn't as clean. And you mentioned the pastoral landscape that you liked, organic, healthy foods, being able to be outside, being able to walk, the trails that are here, and just really living a healthy lifestyle here. And then last but not least is friendly and neighborly. And this came up a lot also in the way you described the town center, but as an identity for Mountain House, that everyone knows their neighbors. This is the social fabric of the community. It's a small town, a hometown, and there's a lot of warmth and friendliness and neighborliness, and all of that resonates with those words. So does this sound? You can nod your head. Does this sound right about what you said? Okay. So this is kind of a summation of the identity, and you can see these are actually pictures of people in the community. Many of you had given some pictures to us to put on the website, and so these are actual residents of the community that I've included here. Now at the town center, and again, there were lots of things that you used to describe the town center. Again, what does it feel like? What do you want it to look like, smell, see, hear, etc.? Excuse me. And the first thing that everyone mentioned, I would say this was almost 100%, was that it's walkable. That you really wanted to de-emphasize the car, and you wanted it to be walkable. That included people's desires and requests that they could actually walk to the town center, that they could ride their bike to the town center, that you could walk through it, stroll and see different things, window shop, smell different things, hear children's laughter and birds chirping. That it's also that it's multi-purpose. It's not just about commercial space, but there's other things that you can do there. For example, a fountain that children could splash in, or places to sit and read, a park, a place that you can have a picnic, a lot of outdoor types of spaces. Again, that it's family oriented. This came up a lot. Many people describe this. I thought it was beautifully described about bringing their dogs there, hearing children laughing, seeing children playing, a place for teenagers to come. I mean, just really all about the family, and the family being not just your individual family, but other families in the community and neighbors. That it's a destination. That this is a place where we can have parades or festivals or different things where we come together as Mountain House and do things together, themed things, but concerts outside, etc. versus just individually going and shopping or eating, but it's the whole community comes together as a destination place. And that it's all about the outdoors, that the parks are nearby, they're really integrated well with the town center, that you see people sitting outside, eating outside, that there's also protections for this with regard to the wind, shade, the sun, etc., but the ability to be outside and not just an indoor place. And that it's green. We had a group in the afternoon that really focused in a lot on the Wi-Fi and being able to connect. Green also included the farmers market and fresh vegetables and flowers. And again, the healthy, clean air and other things about being green, smelling flowers, the colorfulness of the area and tree-lined streets. And then also, last but not least, about the town center really fell in the category of arts and culture. Public art, artisan types of crafts, being able to have art displays that the children are doing, or even if it's a chalk on the sidewalk of an art type of thing, but just all about art, music, things like that. Does that all sound familiar? Okay, I see some hands. Okay, and this is kind of just a collage of some of the photos that describe this, and you can see some pictures. Hopefully you all can see it in the back. Again, many of these are from the community already, or they're things that you identified with in Livermore and other areas in the area. So now we'll go to retail and restaurants. There was a lot of discussion about this, but I would say one of the big things was small and local. That seemed to come up a lot, that the retail was really locally owned, that the commercial included grocery store and food oriented, but also a lot of locally owned restaurants and little shops and things. And of course people have their different favorite things that they want to see, but a lot of it was very much food oriented. And so we all like to eat, and it's a way to come together, right? So these are also some photos, and the other thing that people described this was being able to smell coffee, being able to smell fresh baked bread, pastries, smelling flowers, sitting and eating, and again hearing water or hearing children, hearing birds chirping. It was just very, you all described it as being a place that was relaxing, fun, festive, and also just enjoying and running into people, bumping into your neighbors and friends. So hopefully we've captured that, and you'll have a chance this afternoon to add anything else or reiterate these types of things. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jeff LaPlastrier, who's also with our Mountain House development team, and he's going to present the concepts to you.
Let me add my welcome, seeing so many familiar faces back. You know, developers are often given rare opportunities, as I said in the first workshop. We often have to project or make assumptions as to what the community is going to be like. We have this absolutely rare opportunity for developers like Lane and I to be in the process where we can reach back, and assumptions that were made years ago, we actually can reach into the community today and ask, how have we done, where are we going? And we're very grateful for that, because it's going to give us the opportunity, as I hope you'll see in a minute, to do some planning. It's very rare and unusual. It's a great opportunity, and I think you all need to appreciate that, to be part of that process. Let me introduce the rest of the team. Leigh Marceau, who's my partner that works on the development. Dave Sargent. Ron Morgan, who met Belinda, who just did that crash hot presentation. And I must say that southern accent didn't hurt us very much at all, did it very much? Oh, in the back of the room, Adam Heath, who, and I think Kelly is looking after your children, so we'll talk about her in just a minute. So, as we mentioned in the first workshop, I want to just define what the area is we're talking about. And that's, whoops, got to get this thing to work right. It's defined by Byron, Mountain House Parkway, Main Street, and Central Parkway. This is the area. It's got 150 acres. Another shot of it, thanks to Google. We only, and I think I mentioned in the first workshop, one of the reasons that we can be here today is we were only able to get control of that parcel about 3 months ago. There was another developer that owned it, and we really couldn't get it all together. It's an absolute spectacular opportunity to relook at assumptions that were made years ago. And so when you look at this space, it sits up here in the entire plan for Mountain House. The dominant infrastructure is De Anza Boulevard. It cuts right through the middle of this quadrant like a knife and creates several planning challenges for us. And so we had two planning constraints. One is the existing public approval process, or the master plan was approved in 1994. Take you back to 1994. Before Facebook, Twitter, the internet was not made commercial until 1995. The plan was conceived of, Bill Clinton was in the White House back in 94 when this plan was conceived of. And I looked up last night, just for fun, the average fuel consumption of the American automobile fleet in 1994 was 25 miles per gallon. Today, it's 35 miles per gallon. So there's a lot of de-emphasis on the role of automobiles as we create these communities. So this is the current master plan community. Sorry, the master plan for the town centre. Again, assumptions that were made in the 90s about how people were going to use this space, so forth. Again, it's dominated by De Anza Boulevard. And again, many of the assumptions about what we heard from the first workshop about a vibrant downtown center for the community, a lot of them weren't included in this plan. So what we said to our planners was, take that concept, take what we heard. You all see that? Anyway, let me walk you through it. It maintains the same, by the way, that's, what's the team in Oakland? That's the Oakland Stadium. To give you some idea of the scale, we put that up there. But here's, can you make that any clearer?
I'm working on
But it's 100, the area is 150 acres, and we put that up there to give you some idea as you scale the area you're working in. Here's the answer again. Slices up the community park, slices up any retail from any civic functions in the western part of the site. And we really didn't think that addressed what we heard from the first workshop. So we went to our planners and we said, let's see if we can push that a little further. Still dominated by De Anza, still slicing up the neighborhood, the quadrant, into 4 or 5 parts. And as often happens in planning, you forget to ask the basic underlying question. What would happen if we decided, or if we could work with our public agencies to remove De Anza Boulevard? It's redundant, It's probably not needed anymore, but we've got to work with our agency partners to see if we could remove that. Well, guess what happens when we take the ends around? How about that? It creates opportunities that we couldn't have even thought about. We can bring residential into the middle of the city. We've got our commercial, our retail centre in the same place, but we get a much more pedestrian-friendly grid. We can build a pedestrian bridge across to connect the community park. This becomes, the automobile is no longer king, the pedestrian takes over. And we really like this plan. We've brought in a Mountain House Plaza, this concept, so anchored by some civic center uses here and a town plaza here. We thought, well, that's interesting, but let's push it a little further and see what happens. Now look what you can do. You can create a genuine town plaza with opportunities for retail. This could be where your farmers market is, opportunities for art shows, impromptu concerts, and a more formal street that connects the civic plaza. Here's all of the civic functions and sports functions in the western part. I've got a connection up here with a footbridge. We've taken the roadway out here. But this plan seemed to us to address most of what we heard at the first workshop. It's walkable, it's pedestrian, it's friendly. It's got opportunities for all sorts of impromptu retail and restaurant opportunities. Give you some idea of scale. There's your walkability. Here's the plaza here, here's the civic plaza. It's about a 7-minute walk. It's a very pleasant walk. So these are some schematics of how it may look. These don't necessarily relate to Mountain House, but to give you some idea how these civic spaces might work. Town center. And you can imagine that street between the two plazas having art shows and 4th of July parades and so forth. It's what we heard from the community in the first group. So there it is. That's the evolution. And that's the job you're going to have for us this afternoon, is to take those 4 and see what you can do with them.